Reports from different towns in Massachusetts. One I'm familiar with is Millis. But oftentimes you'll also see one from Auburn, Massachusetts. And it originates, this weather report, from John Bonzey's weather station. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce John Bonzey.
All right, thanks, Jack. Jack's been on me for about a year to do this. I've been successfully putting him off, but he got me at a low point over my father's house with a couple of cocktails. He talked me into it, so here I am. But has anybody gone to my website? I mean, On the Weather Live. Have you ever seen it? Have you heard of it? If you have computers at home, we're going to access it a little bit. So I was trying to figure out what to do here. So I figured, since it's a historical society, maybe I should go through a couple of photos. I know everybody's probably seen a lot of these, you know, the Worcester tornado and the blizzard, but I figured, you know, I found some pretty cool shots, so I figured I'd put them up there. We'd start with that. And then, after going through that, we'll go right to the website. So we have internet access here in this building, which was something in itself. So I got that rigged up. And what so we'll go to the website. I'll show you guys around. So when you get it home, or if you want to go, you can access it at the library or whatever. You'll be able to do that. You'll be familiar. And lastly, we'll go through winter predictions and what some of the other people are predicting for this coming winter. So with further ado, let me see. This is going to be a chore. All right, so the tornado, everybody's heard it. I'm assuming some of you remember it, I guess. It was before my time, so I'm sure some of you remember. I don't know if you were there or what, but it was quite the tornado, F4. So as everyone, you always hear the F scale. And F4 is something, right? I mean, it's 270 to 260 miles an hour, so that's, you know, you wouldn't want to be outside clearly in that. So some of the photos I did find, what I thought was kind of interesting. The forecast for the globe that day was just some thunderstorm squalls and it's clearing that night. So clearly they got that one wrong, right? So this is a picture of the tornado in Quincy, near Lake Quinsigamond in Shrewsbury. That was like at 5:22. So I mean, these photos, I mean, you look at them and it looks just like this thing you see on TV today on the Weather Channel, right? I mean, kind of scary if you looked out your backyard, back window and saw that. So this one I thought was kind of neat too. So here's Assumption College before the storm goes through, right? So everything looks nice, and when you know, after the storm goes through, I mean, it's totally blown apart, right? And even all around the building is gone. So if these brick buildings can't survive, I don't know really what could, right? So the other thing is, if you guys have questions when we go through this, I don't want to just be up here dictating for the next, oh, I got Jack 30 minutes. Got to fulfill 30 minutes here. All right, here's one, Burncoat Street, Clark Street. I mean, it's very similar, right? I mean, you see the storms in Florida when they go through Homestead, it wipes out entire neighborhoods. I mean, clearly, that's what happened here. I mean, you can see the cellar holes, and you know, it's quite the thing. So who in here remembers this storm? Or remember, were you in Worcester at the time, or no? Did you see it?
No, I was tracking on radar as a kid.
Oh, really? What are you, a meteorologist?
No.
Maybe you want to be up here.
The Air Force at the time.
Oh, all right.
We had a station out in Northborough.
All right.
So we picked it up on radar. We didn't know what it was at the time, but I knew it was a big storm.
Wow. All right. All right, so this I thought was kind of slick too. I mean, here's a picture of a hail next to a light bulb, so you can see the light bulb. I mean, that thing's huge, right? I mean, we got them in Auburn. We got hail, I think at my house on Packagug Hill, like they were little, right? I mean, maybe the size of a nickel. I mean, and they were making a racket. Everyone's worried that windows are going to start breaking. I mean, these things coming down, I can't even imagine it, right? I mean, that's bigger than a softball. I thought that was kind of cool. So statistically, I mean, it was an F4, it was on the ground 84 minutes. It killed, 84 people. But out of this whole thing, what I thought was crazy, I mean, they found a frozen mattress in Boston Harbor, right? Which I thought was kind of crazy. And they found, books and clothing all the way out to Provincetown. I mean, that's 110 miles from here, right? So it got sucked up and it dropped off. So you must have probably saw some debris anyway, right?
No, I didn't see it. I was booked onto the base and that was
All right. All right, the next one is the blizzard. We all remember that. It wasn't too long ago. And what I did, I just found some pictures online of that. I mean, we all remember the whole 128 fiasco. I remember trying to pick my father up on a snowmobile, and I couldn't even get it down the driveway. I think this picture was actually on the front of the telegram. I don't remember, but 50 miles, 60 mile an hour winds. And this one, Holy Cross. I mean, this one doesn't look as wide. But you can see the snowbanks are pretty high, right? I mean, that's kind of how I remember it as being a kid. Yeah, I kind of like that one too. I can't imagine how long it took to get all those cars, off the highway. That it must.
Weeks.
Yeah. So I was young at the time, but I remember not having to go to school for a week anyway. And I like this one guy talking. I mean, I don't even think there are phone booths around anymore. So. And I don't know. I don't know what that is on the left.
That's
128 again.
Okay, is that oh, and that's the road. I thought that was a river. I guess that was a road.
Going south, the north had already been cleared off.
Yeah,
But
because
going
there was no
south,
cars on.
yeah.
Everyone's going home. So on this one, I mean, people keep saying storm of the century all the time. Every time a snowstorm comes through here, they seem to try to make it. And I don't know. I mean, nothing seems to beat this one. So 73 people died. I mean, there was tons of damage in the whole area. Snowstorm. I mean, it was weird. I could find statistics for Boston and Providence, but not Worcester. But they all seem to be in the 27-inch range, which, I mean, everybody knows it didn't really give it justice because of 10-foot snow drifts in front of everyone's doors. So I don't know how they would even really measure that. So with that, I figured what I would do is explain how the weather station works, right? Because it's not really magic. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. What happens is, if you look, I'll pointer around here. If you look here, this is basically the weather site system right here. So really all it is something sits outside on the side of the garage, right? Just like everyone's had for years. It measures wind speed. It's got a big rain bucket on it, so it auto dumps. So it's every time it gets 1/100 of an inch of rain, it's kind of like a seesaw every time, and it makes a connection. And the station inside the house, which is right here, sees it and records it, right? So there's a computer I have in the basement, and what happens is every real time, constantly, this thing's feeding down to the computer in the basement what it sees, right? 5 mile an hour wind gusts, it just rained another 1/100 of an inch, the humidity barometer, all that, right? So with that, every 10 seconds, I have this thing connecting up through the internet onto that website that people access. So if you go to the website, basically, you guys can't see it, but there's a guy over here. People that access it, you're basically accessing the website that this thing's almost always connected to. So I think it'd have it every 10 seconds, it's recording new statistics on this. So you can actually watch it, through time as it's raining. You can see how it records. So with that, so what happens is, initially when all that data keeps getting pushed up, but all it is really numbers, right? So then you have to work it into a web page to be able to do something, so when everybody goes to it, it actually means something, right? So there's all these programs and scripts that are running all the time. I mean, thousands and thousands of lines of scripts that are always computing this constantly, right? So it's working out you know, like clearly the radars, I don't have access to that, so we, you know, there's this whole clearly it's a hobby, right? I mean, that's how I got into this whole thing in the first place, but we provide our data to a site called Weather Underground so that we can use their data as well. So all this stuff, at the same time, all this data is going to my website. It's also going to the National Weather Service, right? National Weather Service uses, there's a lot of stations like this, like mine, that push all this data to National Weather Service to try to make their modeling better, right? So the more stations, the more points they have, the better their forecasting models can become. Right, so that goes to the Weather Service every 10 minutes. It goes to, you know, a couple of, I think I have emails set up for 4 or 5 times a day to go to the, like you'll see, like Jackie mentioned, Fox News is one, I think another one's NECN, it's like channel 5, 7, 25, NECN, a few of them. So they all have it. I know Fox News seems to have it, use it almost all the time. So anyway, so the website takes the data, and then you pretty much can control whatever you want to, you know, the page to see. So up front, I lose my pointer. So up front, like right here, if you ever went on here, it's funny, nobody seems to go to this website. I probably get maybe 60, maybe 70 hits a day go to this site. And they go all over the place. You would think they were all from Auburn, but it must be people like from work. I mean, I'll show you after where they come from, but you know, 60 or 70 different people. If it's a bad storm or there's something coming, it'll go up over 300, right? So people start really hitting it, but especially when thunderstorms are coming, you'll see warnings. As soon as the National Weather Service issues a warning, it will automatically pop up here. If this weather station itself saw a record, it'll publish up here. And really, you can see this is actually the weather station itself. So some data I have to pull from like the National Weather Service, some pull, you know, some of the radars come from other locations. But this specific screen here is actually the weather station itself that's on the side of the house. So you can watch up here, every 10 seconds or so, it updates, and these numbers that go in green are actually what changed. Everything will update. What's nice about this is it's new software encoding, so I don't have to push, the website doesn't have to have the entire screen uploaded up to the site every time. It's just uploading these numbers. So if you look at it, you know, from a bandwidth perspective, very little files have to go up to the website each time to update this screen, which makes it doable. So you can see over here, it's figured out what the cloud level is. Right now it's saying it's clear, what the temperatures are, what it feels like with wind chills, what the normal highs were for today. Now say like this comes from, you know, outside. So I would grab that from somewhere else and put it on here. All these are all from the machine. These are all statistics. So today the high wind speed was 17 miles an hour at 158. For the month it was 37 on October 7th. And it will tell you there was 9 days of rain in October so far. We've got 42 inches of rain this year, so much this month, and so on. So this updates, you know, constantly. So if you ever went to this, I'm probably the only one that does, but if you ever went to this when it's raining, I mean, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't clearly be doing this, right? But you know, my wife's always, my whole family thinks I'm a geek on this. But this thing will update while it's raining. You'll watch it. The numbers will start climbing.
Where does 42.63 inches of season total rain go with the normal? Is that more than we normally get?
Yeah, I knew someone was going to ask those questions. I don't have the. See, I know what the let me see, I have it on here somewhere. And then the forecast here. I have what the norms are for this station, right? But for this area, I really don't know. I know it's clearly high, right? I mean, we got, in July, I think we got 13 inches of rain, which is insanity. But for the year, crazy enough, we're almost going to come out, you know, we'll come out ahead, but not as ahead as you would think. Right, so when you look at the number of statistics, I mean, some of the other things that I did, like there's a webcam, and a lot of these things, I just added, I started on some of these screens, and then when I was away from home, I'm like, well, it'd be kind of nice to be able to see what it looks out the front of my office when I'm traveling, right? So each one of these things kind of gets added. But I think there's a time lapse on here. We can see what it did through the course of the day. That was the sun. I mean, it doesn't come up that good on here, but when there's clouds, it'll go by, but you can see. You know, sometimes my kid's out there on his bike. And then you have, you know, just normal forecasts. This is what my wife says. This is all she cares about. She goes to this and then logs off. It kind of drives me crazy, but and it's not even mine. It's the weather service, right? So that's that. Now, some things that are kind of neat, I think, on the website are like Doppler radar. Now, clearly, I don't have a Doppler radar system at my house. But what happens is I do have software that takes the data from the National Weather Service and it makes my own maps. So very similar to what they're doing on TV and other stations when you see the radars, I'm doing the same thing. So I take the data in the raw numbers and formulate. So I'm able to put Auburn on the map. I'm able to put, you know, I think I have Fenway Park. I put Foxborough Stadium on there, you know, NFL thing. But you can watch it come through and you know, so it's, instead of watching it, a lot of times, because everybody knows everything's pretty much focused around Boston, right? I mean, it's been that way forever. So, I mean, this one's kind of cool. I have an add-on system that, you know, as it comes through, you'll start to see like hail, you know, tornado type stuff or rotation. There's a lot more rotational clouds than you think. I mean, they don't ever turn into tornadoes, it seems, but there's a lot more of that going on during some of these big thunderstorms. Lightning strike, same thing. I mean, this is probably more than, I'd say 25 miles, but I think it's within 15 miles of my house. You'll start to see, and the amount of lightning that goes on during a storm, it's incredible. You would think you only hear so much of it, but there's a lot of cloud to cloud, so there's a lot, you know, it's thousands and thousands during a storm. So I think I put a new battery in this. I mean, you can see since July, I think it was 14,000 strikes. I mean, that's a lot. We didn't have that many thunderstorms, right? All right. There's some stuff that I messed with where you'll start to see if it'd be better if it was raining out, but it will start to put, you know, the clouds going across in motion, going across the screen. So, let's see. With some current graphs. And again, it's just taking the numbers that I have, you know, that's stored up on that website, and it creates, you know, what rained yesterday, today, last 7 days in October. Starts charting the barometric pressures, the rain, like historical type stuff. Let's see. Every time I see those studies going on for that windmill and they're trying to put one up here, you know, on Pack Jack, I'm like, yeah, I'll give them the numbers. I'll put them up by your house, Jack, that big windmill. That's where it's going, right?
No, it's not. Yeah, as a matter of fact, it is, behind BJ's.
Yeah, we'll put that over by you. All right, let's see. Some other things like Almanac, this gets kind of crazy, but it's like it gives you statistics on what it's doing the last 5 minutes, 10, 15, 20. And again, it's not really doing nothing more than taking the info that's going up every 10 seconds up to that website and putting it into something, right? So one of the things that was interesting to me has always been the wind, right? Because up on Packagug Hill, the wind gets crazy during some of these storms, right? And crazy enough, I mean, the highest wind that I've recorded since, you know, in the last, I think it was probably 4 or 5 years, has been 40 miles an hour. And it sounded like the house was ready to come down. So whenever I hear these winds of 80, you know, 100 miles an hour, I can't believe what it would, because it's, you know, at 40, it sounds like the house is trying to rip off the foundation. So you can look, I mean, the statistics, like today, no rain. It's rained 9 days this month. What the highs were today, yesterday, for the month, the year. So the high this whole year was 90.9 in August. You can see some of the wind data. So today, this is kind of cool. This is a wind run, so it kind of gives you an idea how windy it is up at least where this station is. You would have flown 29 miles if you were lifted up like a balloon right up into the house. That's what these numbers are. So for the month, it would have gone 1,200 miles, and for the year, it would have gone 18,500 miles if it were just a balloon floating across, right? So sometimes these numbers get really high depending on when we have windstorms or the storms coming up off the ocean. And this kind of gives you an idea as to what the wind's doing now. So these are, I think it's for 12 hours worth of data. So the further out you go, the newer the information is. So right here is pretty much right now, so it's northwest to southwest. And as you come in, you can see, over the last 12 hours what it's done. This is one that I'm trying to get my son motivated on, so I got him actually measuring the snow, because it's really kind of impossible for me to do it on my station, because it wants liquid, right? It wants that seesaw like I was talking about, the way that it measures it. So I have my son Nicholas does the recording of the snow, and again, we've already gotten, not a lot of snow, but it's kind of amazing we got any, to be honest, in October. So we got 1.7 inches, and this is kind of neat, because I like going snowmobiling, so this is telling what, in the area, daily snowfall, and this tells the snow depth as of today. That's kind of neat.
That blue spot is...
That blue spot I thought was at my parents' cabin, but he tells me there's no snow. But it says
That's not.
north of it, I guess. 1 to 2 inches. It's probably around Mount Washington. Right. Let's see. Another one that I kind of like, I record, I don't know if anybody has those weather radios where you can hear the forecast come over sometimes. You can hear the National Weather Service broadcast. So I take that, record it, and push it back up onto the website. So if you were here, you could, you can kind of hear it a little bit. It's just a broadcast, right? It's an audio broadcast. So it would come across your speakers if you were logged in. I won't go through every one of these links, I won't kill you. But this is a hurricane tracking page, so you can see there's something going on there right now, but this clearly we're coming to the end of that season. And that's kind of it on this. One of the things that's cool too is, so to make sure, everybody wants to make sure that the data is all accurate. So what happens is every night, all the weather stations in our area, including Worcester Airport and Logan, they all get calibrated against each other. So if all of a sudden my numbers are off, even by 1/2 degree, the National Weather Service that's sending me like ridiculous amounts of emails, but to straighten my act out. But it compares me against everybody else in the area. So it kind of keeps our systems all very, very accurate. So from a thermometer, if you look at it, it gives me a rating. You're looking for the 2 thumbs up, so I'm looking at barometer, 0.7 millibars off, which is very, very little, and it tracks, the temperature on 1/2 degree off in 25 hours, so 24 hours. So that's pretty good, right? This is basically, it's all the weather stations, just like mine, in this network that they form together, and one guy reports all of it, but it's what's basically going on for each individual station. So if you look at mine, eventually it'll come up, you'll see Auburn on that list, and then you can click on any one of those locations and you'll go to their website specific. So it's kind of neat to, be able to see what's going on in other parts of of New England as well. So I figured, in conclusion on all this, I figured everyone's question is, what's it going to do this winter, right? That's what I kind of ask myself all the time too. So normally Worcester gets 60 to 70 inches. This area is 60. It seems like a lot when you're shoveling constantly, but 60 to 70 inches is the standard probably over the last 100 years. Right. So that's the data for that. So if you look at the long-range forecast, what does everybody say? Right. So Farmer's Almanac says it's going to be pretty much normal or below normal, right? So that's the farmer's almanac up top. So they say, you know, precipitation will be below normal. Some places will get more snowfall, but others will get less. National Weather Service, the next one down, says it's going to be the same. So we're going to get just like, you know, in years past. Now, if you go to some other locations, it will, like AccuWeather forecast, they say, and I kind of like this, they say this summer is very similar to 2002 and 2003 with the rainfall that we've got, and it's extremely similar. And they are saying that we're going to get, you know, that says the track is, this year is right along the eastern seaboard, which will put all the major cities in the cold wintry side of storms. So we typically in Worcester, we're always kind of, everybody knows, the lows are always to the right of us a little, so that's why we get so much snow. But sometimes we do get rain or ice, right? So most of the storms should go out to the east a little bit. So in 2003, we got 97 inches, so that's probably 30 something more than normal. And my prediction is look outside, because there's a lot smarter people trying to figure this out than I am, right? So, and that's all I got.
Thank you.
Any questions?
How did you get interested in this?
How to get interested in it?
How old were you?
You know, you're like my prop, right? Is that?
Yeah.
So the question is, how did I get interested in this? And it really started, I mean, when I was young, I had a weather station my parents bought me for Christmas that I put up on the clothesline, and then the blizzard of '78 came through and welded all the gears together inside, because it was spinning at like 70 miles an hour, and that was the end of my weather station. But and after that, what I had done was I put this system in at my house, because I was using so much water watering my lawn, right? So I had a sprinkler system on my grass, and my water bills were ridiculous. So, you know, there's nothing worse than when you go through town and you see it raining and people's sprinklers are on outside, and you're like, what is going on? You know, and it's not free, right? I mean, clearly up here it's not cheap. So I put this system in that watches the weather. And what it did was, if it's going to rain tomorrow, it won't go on today. If it's going to be, you know, if it's going to be cooler tomorrow, it'll go on less today. You know, it only waters when it needs to, right? Which makes sense. So in theory, it sounds fantastic. So what I was doing was I was using all the weather from the Worcester airport, and the data would come in, and it was figure out, you know, how hot it is and what the humidity is and how much it's evaporating. And until all the big thunderstorms were pounding Worcester airport, and we know they go around Auburn a lot, right? So we don't get anything. Worcester airport gets nailed. And my lawn's burning up, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on, right? So I ended up now, so what I do is I use this weather station that's right on the side of my house, and it's integrated with the sprinklers, and it's kind of how I get in.
Oh, yeah.
Question about, on the TV, oftentimes they'll really talk about the dew points instead of the humidity. Why is that?
I don't know.
What is
I
it?
could pull up, I knew someone was gonna start asking me what the numbers are. I mean, I do the same thing. I pull up like dew points and humidities. I mean, the levels are much colder, right? So I don't know what the definitions are of them. I mean, I usually, I mean, it's humidity I go off of, and, you know, barometric pressures, and that's kind of, I mean, the dew points and all, the station records all of them, but they're really all algorithms derived off of, you know, humidity, and, you know, so they're just, it's like a different reference. So it uses humidity, temperature, and comes up with the dew points. I'm not answering your question, but the short answer is I don't know. That's it.
Could you tell us your website again? Maybe we get a few more people.
Right, AuburnWeatherLive.com. So just like that. So it's cool. Like if you, one thing I didn't show you that I could was who. I've always been curious, trying to figure out who goes to this site, and I can. I mean, you can see just. You know, just, I mean, this is just, you know, since 6 o'clock, 6:01, I mean, all the different people. I mean, I don't know who in Beijing, China is interested in the weather in Auburn, but apparently. It's kind of astonishing. I mean, there's people all over the world hitting this thing. I really don't get it, but whatever. You know, Taipei, Taiwan, apparently they want to know whether in Auburn. But you see Webster, Uxbridge, and it's all day long. It's constant. So when you go on there, I know. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Is there any other questions before we adjourn for goodies? I'd like to thank John. We've been anxious to get him to come talk to us for a long time, and he's here today.